Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they had to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. And I'm your host, Deborah Bailey, and my co-host, Kerry Heaps, will be returning again for this show. And we're going to be having a discussion about Facebook groups, which is really a hot topic, actually. So I think you're going to enjoy this conversation, and I hope that you will leave your feedback. You can leave it on the blog, womenentrepreneursecrets.com. Or you can also leave it on iTunes. If you have iTunes, if you listen to iTunes for this show, you can go there as well and leave a comment about the show or feedback, your review. That helps the show to be found by more people if you do that. So if you take a moment to do that, that's fantastic. Or if you prefer, you could do it on the blog. That's great too. That's no problem at all. Just love to hear what your thoughts are about what we'll be talking about. And again, at womenentrepreneursecrets.com, you can come to the radio tab on that blog, and you can see the different platforms. You have links there for different platforms the show is on. So the older shows have been on Blog Talk Radio. They're slowly being moved to Libsyn, and they're being distributed to other platforms like YouTube and LinkedIn. So there's different other ways for you to listen to some of the previous shows, and your shows also are being put in there as well. So you have a lot of opportunity to hear all the wonderful entrepreneurs who have come by the show and shared their expertise. So I certainly hope that you'll do that. And we're going to get started today. Introduce Kerry, and she's the founder and publisher of Strictly Marketing Magazine, and she's also the host of Strictly Marketing Talk Radio. The magazine has recently spun off an online community for women and men too, looking to gain more media exposure. Pitch like a bitch media. She hosts Knock Out Marketing, a business-to-business telemarketing lead generation firm. Her passion is to help other entrepreneurs with their marketing efforts to continue their dream of running a successful business. And you can find out more about Strictly Marketing Magazine and Talk Radio at www.strictlymarketingmagazine.com. So welcome back to the show, Kerry.
Thank you, Deb. As always, it's such a great pleasure co-hosting with you. Every time I get done, my sides just ache because we're laughing so much and just having such a great time. And just you gotta find a co-hosting partner like Deb. I mean, there's just nothing like it, and it's just great. So.
Well, thank you, Kerry. And I feel the same way, actually, because I think when you're having a conversation with another person and you click and you have a lot to say, I think it really makes for a good episode. So I'm so happy that you've been able to join me for so many of them, because I think we cover a lot of ground, and, for feedback, people do appreciate that. So this is a wonderful opportunity for me as well. But, we're talking today about Facebook groups. And when you proposed it, I, really got what you were saying about, rules and things for groups. And I just this morning saw a post from an author friend of mine who's trying to post some promotions about her books on these groups that they say post about your book. That's part of why people are on there. I this morning got notifications from like 10 different posts that were on there just this morning that, I was notified about. And she was trying to post, and I think she had problems. I think some things were deleted and that kind of thing. And she's like, well, what's going on, It's just a level of frustration about these groups and the rules and I know I had tried to join a couple groups, or I should say, a couple weeks ago, and there was like these little questionnaires and things you have to fill out before you did. And I was like, is this new? What's going on? So I was really happy when you proposed this topic, because I think this is going to be a good one. So, please, share with us what's been your experience? What's your thoughts about what's going on here?
Well, and as I said before, I'm going to be nice. My thoughts. Well, a couple of things. And what your friend encompassed, Deb, is very common. I had an interaction with a few people in a few different groups about a month or two ago, and I kind of expressed my feelings about it on Facebook at the time. Just with some of the things that we were doing with the Pitch Like a Bitch media tour. And, I belong to a lot of different groups. Clearly, for example, we have, for my pageant training, I belong to probably about 30 different pageant-related groups, which I have to say, those particular groups that I belong to in the pageant industry they get it. It's very, I can post something in those groups, get tons of views and clicks on my post, and you can track all of that if you've got a business page, but they're very good about, even if it's something that's set for approval, of getting things approved pretty quickly, and it's never been an issue. I've never had any of them come back and say, hey, look, we're not going to publish this, or, you can't do that. And I probably belong to about 10 or 15 of them now. I belong to quite a few more prior to that, that, I went to post some things about the media tour. And, whenever I go into the groups, I always take a look and just kind of make sure that if they, if there's something, for example, if they're charging, for the, to post in the group, I try to make sure that I know that, or what their rates are, or if it's only, certain people are allowed to post, or if you can only do it on certain days. And I found with a lot of them that they wanted absolutely no posting at all. They were very explicit that don't market your business, don't post anything that's going to be deleted, you'll be removed from the group. Or, there were a couple of them that, hey, you can post once a month and it has to be on this day and we have to pre-approve it. And just, it was like, set up the hoops and start jumping through them. I was really surprised, but it was almost like, and when I went and I read further with a lot of them, it's like, a lot of them would state, hey, we want you to join this group to interact and, get to build relationships and get to know one another. So for example, one of the groups was, and I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was a entrepreneurs group for women. And so clearly, if we're all in there to get to know one another and build relationships, and we're not allowed to talk about what we do, how the hell are we supposed to build a relationship with these other people? Clearly, I'm not going to go in there and talk about my personal life or start interacting with people or liking their post and because clearly if they can't really post anything and it's all going to be personal, then it should just be a personal group. You should have nothing to do with being an entrepreneur, because clearly you don't understand or grasp what that concept is. So there was that. And then, like I said, there were some of them that actually said, the moderator said, I took a long time building this group, so I'm the only one that can advertise in it.
Wow.
So that's when I started doing the boop, boop, leave group, boop, boop, leave group, boop, boop, leave group. And I removed myself from quite a few groups, because I kind of had a rule of thumb at this point. It's like, if your directions or purpose of the group is any more than 6 or 7 sentences, I don't want to be a part of it. A real end of story. I don't. Because again, if I'm going to join a group to promote my business, or if you're going to have a business related group, you need to understand that part of having a business related group, to let people get to know one another, at some point they're going to start talking about what they do. And for example, there was somebody that posted something in a group that I saw the other day, and I actually clicked on it because I was like, gosh, I wish I had the time or the time and be able to go to that particular location. And it was for an event. And I'm like, oh, I would love to be able to do that. But I was glad that I saw it. But if this person posted this in other groups and the moderators are deleting them, you're doing your group members a disservice. Because how do you know what they're going to be interested in, what they're not interested in?
Right. You're right.
And like I said, it's funny because on the pageant side of things, they really understand the concept of that. Their basic rules are don't post anything with profanity or nudity or, it's like all the basics that most people already know. So clearly there's a discord there. And I will tell you, and it's a shame because I think, Facebook groups have been a good way. I'll share some statistics with you from the pageant side of things. We have posted for Kerry's studio for the pageant training. But typically I'll get anywhere, if I post in, let's just say 20 groups or 25 groups, my views can range anywhere from 700 all the way up to 3,000 people reach. So, and then like if I go on and I click, to see, how many people, like, okay, so here's one that we did for a pretty face contest, letting people know about that. That was shared. We shared it 22 times in 22 different groups. So that got 1,100 people reached. And it looks like that resulted in 6 people going to the site and 2 of them registering for the Pretty Face contest. So that to me wasn't that bad. I mean, because a lot of people got to see it. We'll probably post it again. Here's another one that I did, and I posted this one. This one was shared in 17 different groups, and it had 1,516 people that it reached. It got a couple of different likes, and then, a couple of people commenting on it. Oh, yeah, and that was about the Pretty Face contest, too. Okay, sorry. So that's about the same thing. Here's another one. It was shared 28 in 28 different groups, and that was about our pageant training product for gaining sponsors, and 969 people saw that. There were some website clicks. Nobody bought the program, but for high visibility, I will tell you, after I do these, like I'll get an email from Facebook saying, oh, you have a high performing post. If you pay $15, you can reach 1,100 more people or 1,100 people. And it's like, I'll look at the post and it's like, okay, I just reached 969 without paying anything. So you're telling me you want me to pay $35 to get me up to 1,100? It's like, yeah, I don't think so. So I think, the advertising portion of it is a good thing. But I think the moderating thing is killing it. And I don't think people realize that, again, you're creating groups. If it's a personal group, that's one thing. But from a business standpoint, if we're there trying to build our business and we can't talk about our business, we can't do certain things with it, there's just no point in being involved.
Right.
Now, I will tell you, when I posted something about this a few weeks ago on my personal page, that got a lot of traffic. A lot. And I had a lot of people that were agreeing with me, they were doing the same thing. I'm glad somebody said this, simply because it was so, it's so on point. I mean, it's just, you have to, you try to control something like that, it's just going to fall apart. So yeah, I really feel that there's good points to it, but it's kind of like everything. The road to hell's paved with good intentions. And I think people start these groups thinking it's going to be a good thing, and then they get to the point where they start moderating everything, and they're just creating a job for themselves.
As a matter of fact, I'm looking at some things right now where the whole idea of groups, Mark Zuckerberg has kind of recommitted to making groups more important, and what they're going to do is create more artificial intelligence, which is something we touched on with a podcast episode about bots. So, we have looked at that as well, but artificial intelligence is something I hear all over the place now, and supposedly they are going to be and using more of that to get people to find groups, and also introducing more things to give these group moderators, I guess, more control of the content, and that kind of thing. And very much, his thing is, it's community and all that, and that's great. But let's keep it real. We're not all going on Facebook with flowers in our hair singing in Kumbaya.
We're not? Are you sure? Sorry.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think sometimes, I don't know him, I've never met him, I'm more likely not going to, but sometimes I think, the things that I read, it's kind of like, are they really connected to the world the rest of us are.
Mm-hmm.
Because they seem to have this kind of super idealistic belief in what they think happens when groups of people come together. And sometimes it's not always so nice. Some things not so nice happen on Facebook groups. Let me just tell you, I'm sure you know, if
Mm-hmm.
you've encountered some things or seen some things that you find uncomfortable. The algorithms, and this is something that, Kerry and I had touched on earlier because an author friend of mine had a problem posting in a group for book promotion. And she had some things I believe Facebook had deleted, not even the moderator, saying that as though she's spamming, and she's not. Because that's part of what people do in those groups. I belong to them myself.
Mm-hmm.
I see the posts. I posted things there myself, so I know that she wasn't breaking any rules, but now Facebook, somehow their algorithm is kind of saying, oh, this is not good. And algorithms will catch some things and not others. So there's things you may have seen on Facebook or heard about that seem appalling, but it's under the radar because the algorithm doesn't catch it because of how it's programmed. It's a program someone has written. Artificial intelligence or no, it started out with a program a human being wrote somewhere along the way. And there are certain things they may think are not offensive and certain things that they think are. I don't know how it can really be controlled, but if a person is joining a group and wanting to do what the group says, I want to promote, and you can't, then sooner or later that person's just going to say, why am I here? Why am I bothering with this here? Because this isn't working. My more cynical way of looking at things, because, I'm always lifting up the rock to see what's underneath, is that a lot of this comes from also Facebook wanting you to buy ads. Because that's where most of their money comes from. So
Absolutely.
if I could promote without an ad, I don't need the ad. And if you have to interact on the groups, as you said, Kerry, and people have all these rules and regulations, then why am I here? And what's my objective? So,
well, and it could have been too with your friend. It could have been that the person who's the moderator, it could have hit, it sounds to me like it hit maybe a sore spot with her. Maybe that person has a competing product or, that could have happened. So that could be part of it. But yeah, definitely the Facebook algorithm thing is factoring into that too, because like I said, I can post I shared some of my stats with everybody and those are honest numbers. I'm just kind of reading them off here at the Facebook page for the Kerry's Studio. So, again, for example, if I get, that one post that I had, 969 people who saw that post, and then I get an email from Facebook saying, oh, and everybody's gotten those if you have a business page, oh, your post is performing 75% or whatever the terminology is. And then if you click on that, it'll tell you, hey, you can reach up to 1,100 people, or this is what it was saying to me, 1,100 people, post this ad, $15 or $35 or whatever it was. And I'm thinking to myself, I just posted in all these groups for free and got 969 views. So why would I pay $35 to get up to that, maybe up to that number, where you're just basically going to be promoting probably to the same people that are part of those groups. But, again, I just don't see the value of the advertising because, like I said, if you belong to certain groups, but if the group moderators are going to be cracking down on that, then people are not going to be joining the groups. Or if they're added to them against their will, they're just going to remove themselves. Yeah, that's not a good thing.
Just joining groups and going on there, and then once you have all those rules. And yeah, I totally get it. I understand that people put these rules here, but sometimes when you see a little long list of rules, sometimes I don't even want to comment because I see that and I don't know what are you supposed to do and what should you do and what's bad and what isn't. I kind of feel like, I don't know right now what I should do or if I should do anything. Let me just see what people are saying. I kind of feel it's very stifling.
It is. But again, I go back to what I've said before, if you have a group and let's just say it's just like the author group that your friend was talking about, clearly there's an interest there that people are writing books. They're trying to there's a purpose for that. It's a business related purpose, whether anybody wants to admit that or not. So yeah, they might go there and get information, or they might want to market their book, or, people are there for a multitude of reasons, but the more you go and you say, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're only supposed to be able to, look at my post and buy from me, because I'm the moderator, then, clearly, that's why, like I said, I removed myself, and I'll probably continue to remove myself from other groups simply because some of these people get it and some of them don't. And the more, it's just like anything else in life, the more you try to tighten your grip, the more you lose control. And that's what I think. I honestly think that's what's happening. And you can't tell me, if you put together a group, you've added 10,000 people to it, and you've got 10,000 people in that group, and you start, at some point you have to sit there and you got to look at the numbers realistically. Okay, there's 10,000 people in that group. So, more than likely, if they've been added, they might have been blocking, they don't want to see these things anymore, or they remove themselves, or they can just have it where they're still part of the group, but they don't see the updates in their feed. That's probably at least 50% of those people. Okay. Yeah. So that brings your number down to 5,000. So if you put something out there, and like I said, you can track it. If it's a business page, I highly encourage everybody listening, create a business page for your book or for your business, and then post in the groups from the business page. That way it'll tell you how many people it actually reached. And you can actually track how many people clicked on the link and all of that stuff. And the numbers aren't as, again, I've got really high view numbers on some of these posts, but nobody has bought anything. The pretty face contest, we want people to register for that, but that's not something that we get paid for. So you have to really look at your numbers and say, hey, is it really worth me being part of this group? Logistically, and if it's not, then just remove yourself or don't get the updates anymore. There's an easy fix to that. So I think from the standpoint of having a group, my feedback for a lot of these moderators would be, don't moderate so much. All you're doing is you're creating a full-time job for yourself. And there's no reason for that. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of them start the group for a reason, and it's probably for the same thing. They want to build up a database of people to market to, but you really look at the numbers and it's not as great as you think it is. And like I said, I get very good, viewpoint, just different things that come out, on my page. And like I said, we're getting traffic. It is getting some traffic, but it's not what people think it is. Right. Nowhere near what it is, really.
Well, I think that also, if you remember, Kerry, when Facebook really started to blow up, it was a thing where everybody was encouraged to do the pages. I think because I can't remember what was first, but then there were the business pages, I believe, that started out, because that's really, when I joined, I did do a business page, but then I did the personal too, because you have to do both. And then suddenly it was everybody's running to groups because now pages aren't as effective, or the way they're marketing, whatever, they were trying to point people to groups. So it seems like people keep running from thing to thing because whatever Facebook says is important today is where everybody's going. And it's like, I'm on Facebook right now and somebody's talking about, you should start a group instead of having, and also have a page because more people will see it. And interestingly enough, there's these comments, and some people are very skeptical about what this person's offering. They're offering an online course about making groups profitable, and I'm seeing a lot of skeptical comments about people asking about, well, has anybody tried this yet, or let me see some numbers. So I think that, I can't say everybody, I think a lot of people just coming into the game may see a lot of claims and go, oh, that sounds great. But there's a lot of people out here very skeptical of what they're hearing now.
And they should be.
Yeah, because I'm looking at this right now. Listeners, we're probably both on Facebook just checking it out because, it's of the moment. We're looking to see what's going on as we're chatting with you, as you probably are doing something else while you're listening to us. But like I'm saying, a lot of people here are just asking about it. They're not necessarily saying, oh, that's great, let me sign up. They're all asking her questions, and she's having to answer them. And this is a sponsored post, so she paid for this. To have people all kind of questioning it. questioning the validity of it, it says a lot about what people's thought process is now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you, and I went ahead and clicked on this other post just to give people just some different feedback. Okay, so this one was done on our pageant sponsor program too. This post was shared. I shared this. Looks like 14 different groups. We had 1,875 people that we reached. And then when I click on my stats here for this, it's 9 people liked the post, 7 additional people shared it after that. One person said wow, I guess, or one person liked, one wowed it. There's 1 comment on it. There's 37 people clicked on it to go to my website. Mm-hmm. So, and then 1 person hid the post for under negative feedback. I don't know who that was and don't really care, but, just to give you all some other, and like I said, that was in 14 different groups. So it can be a really, really wonderful, wonderful thing here. So I definitely think that if they run the groups right, but I guess it also depends too, it just seems a lot with the business related groups that there's a lot of moderators that are really, and that's the ones that I removed myself from were all business groups. Literally. So that just kind of gives you an idea. The pageant industry is typically you're marketing to consumers more, and business is usually business to business or people who are, probably also marketing to consumers, but it kind of gives you an idea of how different industries are using the groups and what's working, what's not working. But again, with being part of the groups, it's not like, what you're sharing. And, again, and I try to do the same thing too, where I'm making it, I really, addressing the problem that they could be having, what our solution is, how it can help you, comment below for details, or they can click directly on our website. So, definitely it's, I really feel like it's more or less, it's one of those things that Facebook groups still, and like I said, I highly encourage people to do business pages because those results I just read to you were from the business page. Had I shared it from my personal page, I would have nothing to share with you.
So you're saying that a person, if they have a business page, should be on the groups as their page or as themselves?
Like for example, so let's take you for example, Deb. So you have you have a page now for your for one of the books.
Yes.
Because I remember liking that page. So let's say, for example, all the groups that you belong to, okay, author books or whatever, let's say you're going to do a promo on your book, or you're going to do, hey, if you buy today, it's going to be half off the book, or, just you're going to do something like that. So you create a really great post. You go on your business page, create a really great post, have like a really great graphic of the cover of the book, maybe put a link in there to your website, and you post it to your business page, okay? Then once you do that, you go back and you click on your share button, okay? And then once you do that, when you click on the share button, it'll say share or share to a page, so you can click on share to a page. And then that drop-down menu comes on. You can share on your timeline, on a friend's timeline, share in a group. So you click on share in a group and you type in the name of the group and click post. And then once you do that, it's going to be, hopefully, if they approve it or don't delete it, it'll be in that group's page. And then, like I said, from there on, if my suggestion would be post in at least 10 groups. And then that way you can go back later on that day and you can go back to your business page, okay, look at that post, and right underneath it, it's going to say how many people it reached, whether it was 1,800 or 969, or it might have been 1,500 people. And, and of course it'll let you know too, when people if they like that post, it's going to show up on your business page. Any comments that they type, same thing. It's all going to be affiliated with that post. So as far as tracking numbers, that's the best way to do it. Because again, if I post as Kerry Kathleen Heaps from my Facebook page into that group posting as me, we don't have those tracking statistics. Those are only on the business pages. So that's why I still say, I don't care what anybody says, you still need to have a business page because you can track a lot more, And then that way too, you can still share it to your personal page. I mean, I do that because I do more than one thing. So, and like I said too, those group affiliations that I have, I mean, the things that I have for pageant training go in the pageant groups, and the things that I have for business related, well, they should be going into business groups, but a lot more work goes into that at this point because a lot of them have rules and regulations that you have to check with each group, see what's going on, see if they're going to delete it, boot you out of the group. And it's, like I said, I probably spent more time removing myself from several groups rather than doing what I should have been doing, which was just saying, all right, fine, I'll just leave this group and then post in the next one, or just go ahead and post and let them remove me, let them do the work. But yeah, you can track your results. And like I said, that's a good way to test out groups because here's the thing. If you want to see how many people in that group are responding or seeing your post, post it one time to that one group, go back later and check and see what the numbers are. That's going to tell you everything you need to know about that group. Because if there's 10,000 people in that group and you go back the next day and you check your business post and it says, 150 people reached, that's pretty low for 10,000 people in that group. That tells you that probably a lot of them have the notifications turned off. It also tells you that, that if your post may have been deleted, you might want to go back and check that, or it might have been put on a restricted thing from the administrator. But it's going to tell you a lot. Because I think anything lower than, for group wise, from what I've seen, just again, this is just my experience, but if I see anything like in a pageant list or pageant group that is less than, 30 or 40% of the people viewing it, then it's just not worth my time being part of it, because I can tell that a lot of people, they might be in that group, but they were probably added, or they're probably, the notifications are turned off, so no one's seeing it.
Right. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. And that's a good, those are good instructions about how to post to groups from your page, because, honestly, I hadn't even thought of doing that. I mean, I've joined some groups and haven't gone back to them. And honestly, I hadn't even thought about that. And I'm so glad you said that. And also, it's a good way to track. Because otherwise, how can you?
Yeah, well, that's really the only way. And that's, like I said, there's a lot of people out there discouraging, don't do a page, Facebook. And I think it's just part of their, whatever gimmick they're selling for Facebook ads, or they're going to teach you how to do whatever. I think it's just a gimmick because they know that you probably don't know, that if you post from a business page that you can track the results. And when you see the real numbers, you're going to be surprised. So, I mean, you probably see that, don't you? There's tons of people out there that are posting, on how to do a class, or how to, they might have a class on how to create a Facebook group or how to make money from it. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that, haven't you?
Well, certainly. I think to a lot of degree, I probably turn off my, whatever, my sites or whatever you want to call it when I see a lot of these things. Because now, and I'm sure you know this too, Kerry, you've been out here long enough. You just after a while, you're like, okay, whatever. I'm not even as tuned in as probably as I should be, because I see these things and I'm like, oh, here we go. Here's something else that I'm just going to ignore because it sounds like more nonsense. I'm on a group right now that I visit sometimes, and I just kind of joined up to be nosy, and someone's posting an ad, not the ad itself, but saying, posting a graph and saying, I got a client and only spent like $35, and per engagement it's only like less than a penny, but they're not saying, okay, what client did you get? How much are you getting? How many other ads have you spent money on? They're just posting that, and then someone's questioning it, and they go, I can show you the steps. There's so much. I assume that this is okay because it's there. No one's deleted it. But it's kind of like, in these groups, I feel like sometimes you have to pick through the nonsense, even though there may be things of yours that you listeners or someone may have posted that was deleted, or you were, dinged for it. There's a bunch of other things on, and sometimes you're like, huh? How did this get through? And how is this person saying this thing that they can't really back up or making these claims. For me, that's been a big turn off for me with groups. It's, you know?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, and just like as I said, I'm kind of looking at some of these things just to help everyone out. But okay, so for example, I just posted something in a pageant group. Now the site administrator just approved the post. So I got a notification about that. So I just clicked on the group. And this particular one, it's a renamed group. It's a closed group. So you have to request permission to join. And it's got 249 members. 6 of them are new this week. So it's a small group, but it is growing. So there's definitely, if I click on their discussion tab, there's quite a lot going on, with it. So there seems to be quite a bit of interaction, even though it's a smaller group. So, and it's like, so far it's telling me 3 people have seen my post. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot going on, a lot of interaction, even though it's a smaller group. So I think, again, I think you just have to kind of look at the types of groups that you're trying to join, take a look at the kind of business that you have. Are there going to be potential clients in that group, and don't look at the numbers, of how many people are there, because again, just because it's smaller doesn't mean it's not going to be a good group. And, take a look at if it's closed, if it has site admin for approval, take a look at the, the description of the group. So if they have a lot of rules and regulations, that's your personal choice. If you want to deal with that, then understand that you're going to be dealing with that you might be dealing with some blowback, or, hey, we're deleting your post, or we're kicking you out of the group, or whatever. So, I'm sure there's a support group out there for people like that. Hey, I just got kicked out of a Facebook group, I got to pick up the pieces and move on with my life. So I would suggest, just looking at those specific things. And like I said, the best way to test it is you should have a business page, and do your post on your business page and share those business page posts on within the groups. And that way you can see what the numbers are, and you can track them, and you're going to be able to tell if you're getting any traction. Because if you have 1,000 people that are viewing that post, you're going to get a couple of people that like it. You're going to get, like I said, on my numbers, you're going to get, that one post had 37 people that clicked on the link and went to the website, which is good. I mean, for basically posting for free, I mean, that's good. So, great, they haven't bought anything yet, but that could come with time. I mean, you have to kind of see what's going to happen. But again, this is why I'm so against paying for advertising on Facebook, because they're trying to tell me, well, we can get you up to this number. I got to this number, all by myself without paying anything. It's a coin toss. It really is.
I think that a lot of times people join groups for interaction, of course, and just to kind of meet other people. I think originally when I joined some groups, they were because I was probably following some of the quote-unquote gurus at the time who had moved to groups from pages or had both, and just kind of seeing what people were saying and following that. And that groups became more about, like business groups and all that kind of thing. And then I just started, joining things, sometimes not even really thinking about what my objective was. I was hoping to interact with people. That was a lot of my original intent. But now it just seems that, you go on there and as we were saying, with the rules about what you can do, what you can't do, what you can post, what you can't post. Sometimes there's some interaction I think is meaningful. Sometimes it's just people, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too cynical about it, but I think sometimes I'm wondering, why am I even doing this? Because
well, again, I think that if it's your target audience, again, I go back to what I've always said about social media. You've got to view it from a branding standpoint. It's keeping your name out there, because I think if you view it as anything else, you're going to go crazy. And we all get sucked back into that. I like I told you, I've had some instances this past couple of weeks with same thing with my business, that you kind of get sucked into that, keep posting, keep doing this, keep doing that. Oh, here's somebody who might buy. You really, it's more or less, it's just from a branding standpoint. So I think if you do it in moderation, treat it as like alcohol. Do it like once a week and have it in moderation, and it keeps, it keeps your name out there. And don't expect any more from it than that. I mean, because, here's the thing, you could still send out do your email list, and the person on your email list gets your email, they open it up, they read it, they put it to the side, they log into Facebook, you're in the same group, they see that posting in the group about what you're doing, and they go about their business. Then they might be on Twitter and they see something that you've tweeted because they're following you. So at this point, they've seen this 3 times, and then, if you go through and you give them a call or you send them an email one-on-one, at that point, there's more of again, it's keeping your name out there. It's not like, hey, who are you? So it's just looking at that from the branding standpoint and keeping that in mind, is going to save you a lot of heartache, I think, in the end. It saves all of us a lot of heartache in the end, that we're not dealing with that.
We'll be right back after this short break. This is Women Entrepreneurs Radio, available on dbccoach.podomatic.com and iTunes. I think we have to really look at what the objective is as to when you're interacting with groups, and maybe there's some that really aren't as welcoming, or they seem to be that you have to meet all this criteria in order to belong to them, and then you may not really want to do that. You may kind of feel restricted, that you're not able to interact in the way that you want to. And I've joined a couple of groups like that, and I just haven't felt compelled to do a lot of interacting with them.
Right.
Yeah, or I find, and I'm sure this is just me, because there's a lot of people who, in my opinion, and if this is you, don't be offended, but there's a lot of people, it seems to me, that are always on Facebook all the time. I'm not one of those people. I've never been one of those people. Right. I'm on and I go about my business. I kind of segment my time on social media. I'm on, I'm off, I'm on, I'm off. I don't always have it open. I don't always have things going on that I'm always hearing notifications. I just don't operate that way. So a friend of mine who also does promotion said, well, most times people who are on Facebook are on there, or at least in terms of groups or pages, whatever, visiting, is because they are at work and are bored. A lot of people are logging on for work, and logging into Facebook. Now, I've worked in companies where you probably were blocked from going to a lot of these pages. So if you were able to do that, good for you, but everybody can't do that. But that's what she was saying. So, that's when people are checking out these groups and things. But I just kind of feel like sometimes, like, someone may ask a question, how can I do this, or what are your thoughts about that? And then I'll go, oh, this is something I can answer, a way I can interact, and then I'll look and I'll see like 50 responses to it. Because evidently people are online all the time or on Facebook all the time. So by the time I'm even looking at it, the whole world has already responded. And I'm like, okay, I'll just add my little 2 cents, and sometimes I will and sometimes I won't. But it just kind of feels to me sometimes that if you're not always on there, you kind of are always trying to play catch up. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's my impression sometimes, because these people are always on and comment on everything. And for someone like me that isn't always on it, sometimes I feel like, okay, I'm not going to try to add my little, detail to this long, 50 plus comment thread, because it's all been said. Maybe I'm just not the ideal person to be on social media. I don't know.
Well, I don't think it, and I'm in total agreement with you. there's logistics to it. And like I said before, that's why I've always said I'm not a fan of social media. I've said that from the beginning. I will probably say that when they're putting me in the ground, but I'm not a fan of social media. It's too much of a time suck and it doesn't really produce anything. But from a branding standpoint, it's ingenious and it keeps your name out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing that keeps me sane and keeps me from not deleting all of it and saying, because again, we primarily, all of our business is generated, it's closed on the phone or in person. And, it's just to me, I could totally do without it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in an effort to keep yourself sane, look at it from a branding standpoint and say, okay, I'm going to join these groups or I'm going to have 5. But like I said, if you see really low numbers and that's the only way to track them is from the business page, just get out of the group. I would also recommend, and that's something else I'm toying around with, is starting a group of my own on Facebook, just to see what it's like on the other side, to see what what it's like to be a group moderator and how would I grow the group and kind of going from there. So, and for example, I'm going to do one for pageant directors because I need to. That's my part of my target market is pageant directors. Mm-hmm. So what can I do to help pageant directors? Well, tons. If they're looking for event space, they're looking for different cities to host pageants. They might need judges. These are all things that we can help them with. So I need to attract the pageant directors. So if I start a group, it would be one for pageant directors, and it would be a closed group. So maybe even starting one for yourself and look at it this way, whatever business you're in, if you're an accountant and you're wanting to get new businesses in your area to market to, then start a entrepreneurial group for people who live in and fill in the blank, the Bay Area entrepreneurs. So that way, the people that are joining are from the Bay Area. They are business owners, they might, so that way it kind of gets it into that groove of developing your target market. So that way it gives you an idea of what it's like on the other side to moderate a group like this. And to me, if you're wanting to get clients, that would be the best way to do it. In addition to join, because if you're not getting anywhere from joining these groups, like like I am with the business side, then that's what you need to do is start your own group.
That's a good point. And then you could see if perhaps that may be a better deal for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. That might be a better deal than trying to fit into all the other criteria that maybe isn't comfortable for you to be, and for whatever reason, maybe doesn't line up with what you want to do or say. So I think that's a great idea. I know personally I don't want to moderate any
well,
groups.
If I do a group, I'm not going to moderate it. I mean, clearly, if it's something, profanity or things that are inappropriate, yeah, that's, you can just delete those posts as they come in. But
right.
Anything more than that, it's just, again, you're creating a full-time job for yourself.
That's so true, because that's really what's happening. Because for you to have to keep up with everybody who's on there and what people might do and say, that's just very challenging. Yeah, so you really have to consider that's what you want to do. But I'm sure there are ways to use these groups and do it in a positive way and something that really achieves what you want. Like I said, a lot of them I joined just because I wanted to interact with others who seem to have a like-minded experience. And, unfortunately, like pages, sometimes I'm joining and never getting back to them. I just forget, you kind of, not the ones that you can join right away, but the ones that you, in a sense, have to apply to. And sometimes by the time I may have been accepted and I've already forgotten that I applied to join. And maybe I'll get back to it, maybe I won't. Mm-hmm. So I think that too is something I could definitely say I'm guilty of doing. I don't always get back to them to see what they're doing. And sometimes when you're in it, it's not quite what you expect it to be, or sometimes there's discussions or things that go on that you're like, okay, maybe this isn't the place for me to be, which is fine. Then you just leave if it's not for you. If it's not like you have to stay in something that's not comfortable. I agree, Kerry, with getting your name out there, and I'm really glad that you shared that thing about the pages and how to really be able to track your engagement to see if this is really working for you, if this is something that is helping you in any way. For me, sometimes I found to be places where I get information from. If someone's sharing something I've never seen before, links about information that would be very helpful. That can be really great. But then other times I, don't really feel that I am getting all that much out of them. And a lot of it could just be me having joined too many.
Well, sometimes you have to clean house, and that's an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I think maybe that could be the reason as well. That is, over the years, I've joined too many of them that really weren't leading me to where I wanted to go. Or maybe at the time I joined them, I had a totally different impression of what I wanted. So, and now I'm looking, I'm going, why am I in this group? It's not really what I want to do anymore. So, that's a lot of it too. So I'm not putting down groups, just saying sometimes you got to go back, as Kerry said, and clean it up, clean it out. So I think we've covered a lot of really important points, Kerry. Is there anything else you think you'd like to add?
No, I would just say, come up with a plan. Again, don't stress yourself out over it, but, again, just having that business page, if you post in groups, use it from, post from that page. And if anybody does have any difficulty, just comment in the notes, and Deb and I will get back with you on how to do that. So that way you can post, you can track what your results are. And, again, if you're not seeing really good results or not a lot of people, based on the number of people in the group, the amount of people seeing your post is a huge gap, less than 30 or 40%, then, it's not really that great of a group. People aren't really interacting and seeing your post. So for whatever reason, so don't waste your time with it anymore. Mm-hmm. So don't spend too much time on it. Again, I think social media can be a huge time suck. And it can really get you down on the business end of things. So don't let it have that kind of power over you.
Mm-hmm. Actually, you may have answered this question, but I just wanted to ask you, in terms of if someone is saying, maybe I should start a group to promote what I'm doing. I think you mentioned something about a person saying, well, they're going to promote their stuff in the group. Is that something you would recommend if someone's like, well, I'm just going to start my own group and bring people in, but I'm going to promote myself at the same time? What are your thoughts about doing something like that?
Definitely start a group, promote, take that opportunity to promote what you're doing. Absolutely. And then, but let your members promote too. I mean, I really, again, let it free flow like that. I mean, again, the more restrictions that you put on it, nobody's going to want to join. And if you add people in, like so-and-so's just added you to a group. Okay, great. I've just unadded myself, Mm-hmm. So you have to realize that the more restrictions you put on it, that you're just creating a full-time job for yourself. That's not the purpose of a group. And, you should definitely be in there promoting what you're doing. I mean, you put the time into it, but don't be the only one promoting. If you're just trying to create a new email list for yourself, there's other ways to do that. I just don't think that would be the way to do it. But yeah, you should be promoting, and so should everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. That's true. It shouldn't just be you doing that. And also, some groups are closed, some are open. Have you found that there's any differences? In
the only difference I've seen so far has been, if it's a closed group, you do a post and it's sent to the admin for approval. So that means that they have to look at it, think, okay, yeah, I'll post it, and then they have to approve it. Or, open or closed. I mean, I think it really just depends on what you're trying to do. If you, are just putting together a group for, child support questions or something like that, I mean, leave it open. You'd probably get more traffic that way. Or you could, if it's something more where you're really wanting to use this to gain more business, then you might want to go the closed route.
So that depends on what your objective is then.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah, because there's a lot of options here, and a lot of people have groups. Constantly seeing them in the sidebar when you go on Facebook, and some of them look interesting, and some may appeal to you, but it's easy to just start joining, thinking that I should join, and then not really knowing until you get there is this really what I should be doing. So I think having some kind of plan in place of what your objective is So I think that we have covered a lot of what's going on with groups right now. I'm sure that we'll continue to evolve and change.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It will continue to change, and maybe at some point we can also cover pages, because I think that's something else that has changed a lot. And now you're pretty much forced to, to do ads for pages. That's a whole other thing, I think, compared to groups. That may be a topic that we would go into at some point. So that's something that maybe listeners are curious about. Certainly, you can leave that feedback, those questions. I said, once again, you can reach out to Kerry at her website, strictlymarketingmagazine.com, or also Kerry's on Facebook and so on. So, there might be things that you want to know, then definitely share that. I guess that's it for this particular episode about Facebook groups, and I'm so glad you could listen in and join us for this conversation. So, once again, to Women Entrepreneurs Radio, it's your hosts, Deborah Bailey and Kerry Heaps. And I'm really glad you could join us today. And we'll chat with you again next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. You can also join in the conversation on Facebook.com/Women Entrepreneurs and on the website, WomenEntrepreneurSecrets.com. And don't forget to listen in on dvcoach.podomatic.com and on iTunes.